If you don't know by now, I am fascinated with breeding far more than I am with capturing. What if I told you that in about the amount of time it's going to take you to watch this video, you could have every pal that you're going to need in Palworld? What's up, guys? Belligerent here with another Palworld video. And all right. When I say what I said, when I say that you're going to have every pal that you need in Palworld, we're not talking about the legendaries. That's kind of the end game right now. You're going to have to get to those level 50s. But beside from them, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a shopping list. And with that shopping list, you'll be able to get every pal that you need, with the exception of the legendaries, to play the game. So we're going to break it down. And so keep in mind, all of this, absolutely all of this, can be done by the time you reach level 19. Why is level 19 so significant? Because at level 19, you unlock the breeding ranch, and that's when we can really start making the magic happen. But I'm going to give you a shopping list. I'm going to give you some tasks before we reach level 19 and before we unlock that breeding farm for you to get some things. And that's not a big shopping list. Let's take a look at this shopping list. It's very simple. And before we get into it, let me say, yes, some of these you can probably capture at different levels. I just put them where I thought it would be the easiest for most people to obtain. And also, before we get into this, let me just say, yes, I understand there are probably several different paths to get to where we are going, because there's over 18,000 combinations in Palworld. But this was the most efficient route that I personally could find, and the easiest. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to start off on your journey in Palworld. And before you reach level 10, you should be able to capture these 3 pals: Chickpea, Lift Monk, and Tansy. Pretty simple. You should be able to find them all just in the beginning area. A level 5 or under should be really easy for you to get a hold of those 3. Now, as you go on, some that are going to be more around the 10 to 15 level range: Melpaka, Nightwing, and Mazarina. Okay. Now, there's a couple of different reasons for a lot of these pals that I'm telling you. Obviously, they are going to turn into some combinations where we can breed into the pals that we need, but also Nightwing's going to be the earliest flying mount. We're going to need a flying mount for the next part of the shopping list. Chickpea, we're not going to use for breeding whatsoever. We just need it for the egg so we can make cake to breed. And then once you hit level 15, and the reason that you're waiting until you hit level 15 is because that's when you unlock the saddle so that you can ride Nightwing. And then after level 15, all you need to capture is a Serpent, and those are usually around level 16 to 18 range. So they should be pretty easy for you to get at that point in time. We're going to need to go get 2 jars of honey. You can get more. You can get more if you go out there. I'm going to show you a super easy, very safe way to get honey from the wild bee guards that you're going to find out in the wild. And I'm going to show you a very safe way so you don't have to worry about getting exploded. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It's a very, very safe way. We only need 2. You can obviously get more if you want, but we only need 2. And then we are also going to have to go find one of these huge dragon eggs. And that is the other reason that we need Nightwing, is so we can go fly around the lava area. Okay, now one thing that I didn't put on this list is when you go into that lava area, you are going to need some heat-resistant clothing. Going to need to be at least level 2. You can get it with the tropical clothes that you will build or have access to build before you reach level 15, before you can go flying around on Nightwing. There is also a vendor that you can find over in the volcano area that will sell you some underwear, some undershirts, heat resistant undershirts. It's only 1,000 gold each if you want to go that route instead of building the clothes. Either way, very, very simple. Now, if you do this shopping list, what is this going to get you? It's going to get you both the best in slot for what you need at your base in every single category, and it's going to get you best in slot for all of the different elemental combat pals, again with the exception of the legendaries. Let's take a look at what I mean by that. So when we get into base pals, okay, so you're going to end up with Jormuntide Ignis for kindling. You're going to end up with Jormuntide for watering, Warsec for lumbering. Okay. Now, I understand that in some of these categories, there are multiple pals that reach specific levels. And in some cases, there may even be some better than those that have the highest levels. And we'll discuss a little bit of that as well. So Warsec for lumbering. We're going to have Lylene for both planting and medicine. Okay. We have Cryolinks for cooling. But if you watched one of my other videos, I told you that I thought there was another cooling pal that was better. And guess what? I'm going to show you how to get that pal as well. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video. And by the way, if you enjoy this video, if this video helps, a like would be super, super, super appreciated. It's free for you and it helps me. And if you want more content like this, make sure you smash that subscribe button. And as always, I appreciate it if you tell a friend that you saw the video. For our handicraft, we're going to get Anubis. For mining, we're going to get Astagon. Now, many people will say that Anubis is better at mining than Astagon because of certain reasons, and that's fine. You don't need to use Astagon for your mining. You can use Anubis for your mining, but we're still going to get you Astagon. Astagon does have a higher level mining. We're going to get you the fastest mount in the game, which is Phalaris. We're going to get you the best harvesting pal, which is Verdash. And we're going to get you the best for electricity, which is Ozerk, who is also probably the best for transporting. Again, Anubis is also really good at transporting as well. So like I said, in some of these categories, some of you may want to debate me about some being the best, some not being the best. For base, we're kind of just looking at levels as opposed to usage. So we can get to where we want to go as far as all of that stuff. But again, like I said, especially with the mining is the one that sticks out most to me. Anubis is probably better at mining just because of his speed and his size and all of the stuff that goes, all of the problems that go along with Astagon, but Astagon still has a higher mining level. So if you want that, you can have it. Now for combat, let's talk about the different pals for the different elementals. And again, there may be some small arguments in here, but again, if we can go shopping for 9 different things and end up with the second best instead of the first best, depending on what your opinion is of the elements, so be it. So best for combat, the best fire elemental is going to be Jormuntide Ignis, who is also the best for dragon. Jormuntide is going to be the best for water, Warsec for grass, Cryolinks for ice, Anubis is going to be our ground champion, Shadowbeak is going to be our shadow champion. For neutral champions, we have either Galeclaw or Goriot. It's going to be kind of a debate between those two. We'll tell you what, we're going to get you both. And the other cool thing about Galeclaw is that he makes a badass glider. And then our best lightning champion is going to be Ozerk. And then if you go get all of these champions that I showed you on our shopping list, and I'm going to show them to you again right here. We need Chickpea, Tansy, Melpaka, Serpent, Liftmonk, Jormuntide Ignis, which we're going to get from that egg that was on your shopping list, Mazzarina, and Nightwing. We get all those, and I'm going to give you all of this. I'm going to give you all these champions that you see over here on the right. And then you're going to get some on top of this, and I'm going to keep track of these, and it's going to be very easy for you to follow along exactly how to do this. So first things first, let me show you how we're going to get that honey. Now, obviously, you can go out and try and catch a bee guard if you want to, but they explode. And frankly, they are kind of a pain in the butt to go capture just because of how they move, how they explode, and they can be very dangerous, especially at lower levels. But what we can do is we can go out to this area right here that you see on the map. I'm going to go to this fast travel point. we're going to hop on our Nightwing. Remember to do this after level 15 because you're going to want to be able to fly Nightwing. We're going to go looking for a bee. And once we find a group of bees, we're going to annoy them a little bit. We're going to get them to chase us. We're going to get them to start flashing and try to explode on us. And then all we're going to do is we're going to have Nightwing fly up in the air so the bees can't reach us and they explode harmlessly on the ground. And then you can drop back down and grab your honey. Now, remember, you really only need 2 honey. If you want to do some more, you can, but you're only going to need 2 to make your first cake. And then once we have that, we can go back, we can make our first cake. And the very first thing you're going to do, you're going to use that cake to breed Malpaca to Tansy. And those are going to give you your very own bee guard. And now you have your honey, and now you have your ranch going with your chickpea, your Mazzarina, and your bee guard. And now you can start making cakes to continue onto this process. Okay, so now I'm going to walk you through the different path that we are going to take, all of the breeding that we're going to do to get you to the champions that I promised you. First up, we're going to go down the Serpent tree. Okay, so we're going to take Serpent, we're going to breed it to Tansy. That's going to give us our Gale Claw. Check. We're going to take Serpent, we're going to breed it to Liftmonk. That's going to give us our Verdash. Check. We're going to take Serpent, we're going to breed it to Mazzarina. That's going to give us a Rayhound, and that will come into play in just a little bit. All right, so now we have Gale Claw, Ignis, and Verdash. So now we're going to go into the Ignis tree. We're going to take Ignis, we're going to breed it with Tansy. That's going to give us Petalia. We're going to take Ignis, we're going to breed it to Serpent. That's going to give us Masanda. We're going to take those two, breed them together, Petalia, Masanda. That gives us our Lylene. Check that off. We're going to take that Lylene, and we're going to breed it to Masanda, and that's going to give us our Warsec. Check that off. And then for a little bit later, we're going to take Ignis, we're going to breed it with Verdash, and that's going to give us a Vanworm, and you'll see that coming up in just a little bit. All right, next we're going to go into what I call the Grizzbolt tree. Well, we don't have a Grizzbolt. Okay, so let's make one. We're going to take the Rayhound that we made earlier. We're going to take Masanda that we just made, breed them together. There's our Grizzbolt. Grizzbolt's going to unlock a lot of things for us. So we're going to take Grizzbolt, we're going to breed it to Warsec, and we're going to get Relaxosaurus. We're going to take Grizzbolt, we're going to breed it to Relaxosaurus, and we're going to get Ozerk. Check that off. We're going to take Grizzbolt, we're going to breed it to Nightwing. That's going to give us our Yormantide. Check that off. We're going to take Grizzbolt, we're going to breed it to the Ozerk that we just made, and that's going to give us our Astagon. Check that off. Okay, so right now we have Gale Claw, we have Lylene, we have Warsec, we have Ignis, we have Yormantide, we have Verdash, we have Ozerk, and we have Astagon. And now all that is needed, now that we have these pals, all that is needed is to do a little bit of miscellaneous breeding, and we're going to have the rest. Let me show you what that looks like. We're going to take Tansy, we're going to breed it to Nightwing. That's going to give us a Kitsune. And with that Kitsune, we're going to breed it to Astagon. That's going to give us Shadowbeak. We're going to take Astagon, we're going to breed it with Shadowbeak. That's going to give us our Cryolinks. So check those two off. We're going to take Lylene, we're going to breed it with Malpaca. That's going to give us our Anubis. Check that off. We're going to take Anubis, we're going to breed it with Vanworm. That's going to give us our Phalaris. Check that off. And then we're going to take Liftmonk. We're going to breed it to Vanworm. And that gives us our Goriot. And then we can check that off. And there you go. There's all the pals that I promised you in the beginning from a very, very, very simple shopping list. And now you're ready to go. Now you have the best in slot for every part of the game with the exception of the legendary pals. But before some of you call me out, some of you that may have watched my other video, there is a cooling pal that I think is better than CryoLinks, that I think is the best cooling pal in the game. So as a little bonus, and I promised this to you in the beginning, I'm going to show you how to get it. That pal, in my opinion, the best cooling pal is going to be Van Worm Christ. So to get there, we're going to take Tansy, we're going to breed it to Relaxosaurus, and that's going to give us Foxicle. And then you take Foxicle, you breed it with Van Worm, that gives you Van Worm Christ. And then you have what is, in my opinion, the best cooling pal in the game to go along with the best in the game of everything else. And there you go. There's your roadmap. It's a very simple, easy roadmap. And you can have this all by the time that you're level 20, give or take. You can start at breeding at level 19. You can do all the captures around the times that I told you. And one final thing is that I told you at the beginning of this video that you could do all of this in about the amount of time that it took you to watch this video. And some of it you couldn't see and maybe you weren't paying attention, but in the background of this video, I was running a video of me capturing everything that you need captured and then some, because originally I had a much bigger list, but I figured out ways to narrow it down and make it shorter so you can absolutely do this in about the amount of time it took you to watch this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this helps, and I hope this didn't ruin the game for you and make you think that the game is too easy. If you enjoyed this, remember to leave a like, comment down below, let me know what you think, subscribe, tell a friend. I'm Belligerent. Peace.